It's about 7 p.m. on Sunday, August 25th, 2024. We're just a couple days away from September, so this is the tail end stretch of the hottest month of the year for us here in Northeast Texas. And I wanted to kind of give you a tour of the eastern grass. The water's on the western side. I often take videos of the cows on the western side, but I wanted to show you what it looks like on this eastern side, especially after they've had, I think, a day or two to go through this grass. I was talking with one of my friends in the area that does cattle as well, and I think we both agreed that this year was a really good year in terms of grass. I think he said he's already out of grass, that the drought's been not kind to him, but he typically goes for feed anyway, so he's feeding his calves. As you can see, I have no shortage of grass. This row was 100 feet wide, and if every row was like this one, and I moved them twice a week, that's 12 and a half weeks. 12 and a half weeks from now, that would put me in probably almost in October. Nope, November, I mean. So I commented in an earlier video, oh, by the way, my manure is good and soft. His cows, he gives them the supplements, the protein and stuff like that, so that they can put on good weight. You can make good money on them. And I think it's a little different idea and strategy. Like, I'm not trying to make the biggest cows or the best calves in the world. I'm just trying to make cheap calves as cheaply as possible. I would prefer to buy them nothing except my time and my labor. I would prefer if I didn't have to feed them at all. And what I do feed them is just hay, and then I'm going to buy a little bit of protein supplement in the winter when they're on hay, because the hay is not going to have enough protein to really sustain them. But I'm standing here in one of the sections of that tall weed that I forget what it's called, but it says that it grows in disturbed soil. One of the things that I noticed was there's a bunch of grasshoppers in the leaves of this plant. So I just assumed that the grasshoppers are munching on these guys. It looks like they are. You see there, that leaf is just munched on. So the grasshoppers are just enjoying eating this weed. The weed is not doing well. You know, if I stood out in the woods and a bunch of bugs started eating me, you would not say that I'm a healthy person by any stretch of the imagination. You would say that, hey, there's something wrong with you. Why aren't you swatting off the bugs at least? This plant here looks like one of the cows decided to munch on it. Stripped it of the leaves. Either that or the grasshoppers just destroyed the thing. I can't really tell either way. I'm not an expert by any stretch of the imagination. But we got another bunch of these weeds in the next row. Let me show you what it looks like before the cows get to them. And you know, my concern was whether the weeds would come back next year stronger, or whether they're going to disappear on their own. And my thought is that the grass, when it's really strong, is going to crowd out the weeds, hopefully. Grass may need a little bit of help. We'll see. I don't think so, but we'll see. I'm not going to do anything. Just let the cows do their thing and the sheep do their thing. The sheep were already through here. I think the sheep stripped the lower half of the trees, the plants, of their leaves. It didn't reach up much higher than that. Oh, what is this, like false barley or something? This thing's all dry and gray and brown. And over here, the grass here is very thick. I don't know if you can tell, but you know, it's very thick. Not a lot of grasshoppers. I'm kind of surprised. Normally this time of year we get a lot of grasshoppers. This here's a berry bush. I'm sure when I move the sheep here, the rams and the dogs, that they are going to strip this thing down to the bone. That's going to be a lot of little berry leaves. But you can see how the berries, they have to compete with the grass. And the grass is actually growing taller than the berries. You know. So hopefully the grass will take care of the berries and tell them to go home. So I'm told that blackleg can happen if they are cutting their feet or their ankles on berry bushes, and so get rid of those berry bushes. Well, I have the sheep to do that for me, so hopefully that will take care of the problem. I should note I finally set up the dog feeder, and I just realized after I set it up, I'm like, uh-oh, that thing could get pretty hot in the summer sun. My plan was to put it in shade or cover it somehow so that it doesn't burn up in the heat. If you're wondering, this is a 12-foot pig panel that I just bent by hand. I didn't really use any tools. And I used some baling wire or something to tie it together. And then I just kind of put some hot wire around it so the sheep won't touch it. The sheep will knock it over, try to get to the dog food once they realize the dog food's in there. And the puppies are trained on the feeder. They're not trained on the pig panel, but they've already been eaten in there, and so they'll probably be fine. You know, there's the lambs. Am I missing one? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, one's hiding behind that big ram. I think Rammy's kind of hiding behind the big ram. Yeah, there you go. Now you can see all 7 of the little rams. Bailey's still in here. Looks like Bailey's having a good time. You having fun, Bailey? You're almost a year old. A couple more months, you'll be a year old. Right? And the ram on the rope is back there. He got himself tangled up, so I got him loose and I brought him to water, and he expressed his disgust with me. He was not happy, but the puppies were drinking water, and he drank water, and he was having a good time drinking water. And I don't think he's scared of the puppies anymore, if he was ever scared of them. But I think he wants that rope off. And I think maybe next move I might take it off after a day of being in the new pen. There's just so much grass in this new area, even after the cows have been through it. So I think what I might do actually is skip this area and go to the next one. No, I need that berry bush to go. I need to get rid of that. No, the sheep will come through here and take care of the berry bush. So I think what I'll do is skip it so that when we move the cows, we'll move the puppies and the rams to be in the same row as the cows, because I don't want to graze too long on one spot of grass and injure the grass that way. So anyway, today is Sunday. Sunday's a beautiful day. I just had a good time today. Just wonderful things are happening in the world around us. And sad news, of course. One of my good friends passed away. I wouldn't say good friend. I haven't really known him that long, but he's a friend. And he's actually the guy that gave me that metal structure there. I told him I was thinking of getting goats, and he's like, oh, you need a goat feeder, a goat shelter. And so he just gave that to me and transferred it over here and just gave it to me. And he supported me when I started doing cattle stuff. And, you know, he's kind of a guy that I talk to as much as I can to pick his brain. Unfortunately, he was kind of an old guy, and then his hearing went and his vision went. And then he caught some form of cancer, and then he had a couple of strokes. So it was fairly obvious he wasn't going to be long for this world, but he finally passed. Thankfully, his family was with him when he passed, so, you know, you can't really complain too much about affairs that you don't have control over, but, you know, but yeah, it's sad. It's always sad when somebody passes away. It kind of makes you think about what is really important in this life. I know when my mom passed away, I kind of sat down and replanned out my life and said, what's truly important is not a good job or, you know, lots of stock in the stock market or owning a big house, you know. And that's when I started laying plans to move to rural USA and raise animals as kind of my final career, you know. If I can make a little money doing this, and if I can show others how to make a little money doing this, if I can get my kids to stay together as friends and stay close with us, if I can help them get a head start in life, making good decisions and choices. Look at how thick this grass is. It's up past my boot. You know, that's what I want, is just to raise my kids right and leave my family in as good a shape as possible in every aspect of the word, you know. And so my wife and I, we're we're doing the best we can to, put our adult children out on the right foot rather than kicking them out the door and saying good luck. Really helping them to make good decisions to start their career off and their family off. Every single one of them know how much I value family and how important it is to me that they marry right. They marry into a good family and they raise kids as their priority. Every single one of them knows. I told them that's all I really care about is starting your own family, enjoying the happiness that comes with married life. And in terms of money and things like that, obviously I don't want them to be poor. But the saying in my church is no success can compensate for failure in the home. It doesn't matter how successful you are. If your home life is not good, it doesn't mean anything. Nobody's going to say when they're dying in the hospital that they wish they spend more time at their job. They always say, I wish I spent more time with my family, So that's what I'm trying to do. That's really ultimately all it's about. I normally don't talk about these things, but I felt for a long time that I probably should. I feel very strongly that nothing matters without a relationship with deity, right? That the thing that creates meaning and purpose are those spiritual things that can only be sensed through the Spirit. You probably know that I consider myself a Christian man. Lots of Christians don't consider me Christian because I belong to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, aka the Mormons. You probably know from my family history and some of the life advice that I give that that's where all of my traditions are. And I don't care about that stuff. That's not important. What is important is that each person needs to develop a personal relationship with God, right? And that's what I hope people know. That, if there's something they're like, hey, what made you successful? What made you happy? And that's it, is just developing that personal relationship with deity, getting your life right before God. And I think that too often people think that that's like an extremist thing. It's unnatural, that it requires, like you watch those old kung fu movies sometimes in the 70s and 80s, and they're like, oh yeah, you need to train super hard so that you can obtain the skills of the master. That's not the way it is with developing that relationship. It's really not that difficult. The kinds of things that he's going to ask you to do are things you should be doing anyway, right? Just like a father who actually cares about you and wants you to succeed and be happy, he's not going to ask you to do things unless they're actually important, right? And so I think sometimes we build up this image of like this impossible standard that we try to build. We often compare ourselves with others. And those are things he says, don't do that, right? Don't compare yourself with others. Don't set the standards according to what you think the standards are, right? That's not how you're supposed to live your life, Turn those things over to God. Let him care about that stuff. And then daily, when you wake up in the morning, you're thankful for another day, and what should I do today? What's the thing that I should focus on? And when you go down at night, you apologize for the things you've done wrong. You make a commitment to do better the next day. That's all you can do, right? There's really nothing else. It's really simple advice. And all the questions about, is this true or is that true? Are these guys telling the truth? Or are they lying? Are they a bunch of charlatans? Is it a cult? That stuff doesn't matter, People get all excited about that kind of stuff. But really, that's not what's important. That's not the things that are going to change your life. right? The thing that's going to change your life is developing that personal relationship with deity, right? That's all it has to be. There's nothing else, right? And then the reason why I go to my church, the reason why I adhere to the doctrines of my church, the reason why, I believe the Book of Mormon true and Joseph Smith the prophet, all these things, those are things that I've learned on top of and besides that initial truth, right? Those are things that's icing on the cake, right? That's just bonus, potato chips and ice cream, things like that. It's not the essence. It's not the central premise. Those are things that I've learned and gained for myself. And I'm not going to tell anyone that you need to believe in X in order to be saved, or you need to do this in order to be saved, because the this and the X, the thing you need to believe in is God. You need to put your trust in Him. You need to do what He tells you, right? That's it. There's nothing else. There's no great mystery, And so that's kind of my message. It's really not that hard. Don't try to complicate things. We have what we call in our church the primary answers. Primary referring to the program, the Sunday school for kids that are younger than 12. Primary means first, of course. We know the double meaning there. But we have the primary answers. The primary answers are go to church, pray, and read the scriptures. That's pretty much it, right? If you're doing those three things, you're on a very good path. If you're not doing one of those things, or all three of those things, or two of those three things, you're not going down a good path. It's not going to end well. So go to church, read your scriptures, your Bible, Book of Mormon, whatever it is, and pray. Do those three things. That's a start. Do that for the rest of your life. You'll be good. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.